Different way, Aaron. Now, this morning we are talking about maybe writing your own book. If you ever wanted to write your own book, apparently 81% of Americans say they have a book inside them somewhere that they need to figure out a way to get out. Amity is pointing to herself. I'm joined by Rob Kosberg right now. He owns a publishing company. He's also an author, and he wrote a book called Publish, Promote, and Profit from Selling Your Own Book. Now, Rob, thanks so much for being with us here. You drove up from Pasadena this morning. We appreciate that.
Yeah,
I think it's interesting. You wrote a book about writing a book on how to make money writing books. So tell us about this.
That's true. Well, you know, the story's interesting. I actually wrote a book for a financial services company. That's the Life After Debt book that you know, did very, very well, and actually kind of positioned me as the expert at that time for that industry. And I had a number of people coming to me asking, you know, is this something that we can do for our business or ourselves? And the beautiful thing is, with the advent of self-publishing and Amazon, you don't need to work the traditional publishing route to have your own book and for it to be successful.
In this book, I was looking at it just prior to us coming on. It's broken down in a way that makes it very easier for the reader. And I think what's interesting is I actually have thought about writing a book as well. I've thought about maybe getting some of that software.
Well, let's get started.
Well, I want to start right now. You be my scribe for me. No, what's that? You know, some of that software they have available where you can sort of wear the headphones and just speak, and it's like
absolutely
Dragon software.
Dragon Naturally Speaking is one, and obviously some new Macs just have it directly built in.
Right.
And that's a great way to get your content out of you. Of course, a lot needs to be done from it because you don't want just a raw transcript to be your book. It then needs to be professionally edited, ghostwritten, or you can do it yourself. But that's a great way to get your content out of you.
Now, what are the keys and what are the essential steps in writing your own book? Because I imagine anyone could just write anything they want. But to actually turn a profit or to have a best-selling book, what are some of the steps people need to think about when they get started?
Yeah, good question. Our program's called Publish, Promote, Profit, as is the book. And the idea is the first step is having the right material, publishing the right material. And there are some mistakes that people make regarding that. We can talk about that if you like, but you have to have the right material first for your market. So you have to think, who is my market? What are they going to be interested in? After that's done, just because the book is completed doesn't mean your work is done. You then have to, you have to promote it. And there are some great tools to do that. Social media, Facebook, Twitter, exactly. And then there are some steps you can take to profit from it. Speaking engagements, even getting on television, radio, free publicity, as well as just generating leads for a business if you're interested in doing that.
I imagine things like Facebook and social media, these things are steps that authors years ago didn't have.
That's right.
So all right, quickly, we have about 30 seconds, then you'll be joining us again next hour. But tell me a little bit about some of the mistakes that people can avoid.
Yeah, there are three big mistakes. We've made fun names for them. They're basically the Kim Kardashian conundrum. Maybe I can just hit that one. We can save the others. But that's really thinking in putting your book together that people are interested in your life story. If you're Kim Kardashian, you can take a selfie and they're interested in that.
Exactly.
But maybe for most of us, that's not the case.
My selfie would not be nearly as flattering.
That's right. So the idea is you have to think about your audience. Don't make the Kim Kardashian conundrum mistake by thinking only of yourself and your story. Think about your audience when putting together your book.
All right, that is Rob Kosberg. The book is Publish, Promote, and Profit. And just a quick question, have you profited much off this book about profiting?
I have.
Yes. Well, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. We'll listen to you. All right, he'll be back with us next hour again. And for now, we're going to send it back over to Amity.
All right, thank you so much, Rob. Great advice. Know your audience.
I'm joined again by author Rob Kosberg, who also owns a publishing company, and he wrote a book called Publish, Promote, and Profit. And this book basically deals with how to write a book. And now, there's a stat that I said last hour as well, but apparently 81% of Americans have something within them that they want to get on paper, whether it's a book or a how-to or something like that. And they just... The most difficult step seems to be that first step. What can folks do?
The New York Times had a survey that 81% of Americans want to write a book, but about less than 1% ever actually do. And there are three, generally big mistakes. We talked about the first one, which was the Kim Kardashian conundrum. The next is the challenge is what we call the Tony Robbins trouble. And Tony Robbins trouble, Tony is, of course, a pretty well-known, personal life coach. But he wrote a book recently called Money Master the Game. And at first glance, you might think, why do we need another book about money? But the reality is we do, because this is Tony's personal experience and his personal knowledge. So oftentimes authors think, you know, I can't write about this subject because there are so many other authors that have already written about it. But don't let that stop you, because your experience is very unique.
And Tony's made a ton of money as well, and that book has done
Yes, he has.
really well.
Yeah,
So,
New York Times bestseller.
what are the keys, and what is it that your company does to get people started with writing a book? Now, if you're going to write a book, you have to reach a certain audience. You have to have a message. We were just talking about it off camera. You have to have an idea of what you're and who you're going to target. So what can folks do?
You know, the first step is in the publish phase is really knowing who your audience is. So you have a unique story. We all have a unique story. And that unique story, of course, is interesting perhaps to our family members and our friends and certainly to ourselves. But what we need to do is we need to take that unique story and make it worthwhile for an audience.
Right.
How can that meet an audience's need? How can that be interesting, not just from the standpoint of entertainment, but really educational for an audience? When you find that mix, you have a great foundation for a book.
All right, Rob, let's talk about the Ernest Hemingway situation where a lot of people don't end up writing a book. Amity and I were talking about this because neither of us are trained writers. We can certainly write, and I'm sure that we have a story to tell or some message that we'd like to get out there. But what's the Ernest Hemingway situation?
Yeah, the Ernest Hemingway error is thinking that you need to be Ernest Hemingway. You need to be a great writer to get your content out of you. You really don't. I mean, honestly, you don't need to know how to conjugate a verb to write a great book. Because someone else can help you with those steps. And there are tools that you can use. We were talking about Dragon Naturally Speaking earlier. There are tools you can use to get the content out of you, and then that content can be made into a great book.
Okay, let's just say, basically, from a primitive standpoint here, I write a book, I want to get it out there. I don't have a huge budget for marketing and that sort of thing. We can use resources like Facebook and social media and that sort of thing, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You have social media, of course, is gigantic. You have Facebook, you have Pinterest, you have LinkedIn, you have Twitter. You can use these social media resources to begin marketing your book. Don't just think that you put your work out there and now people are going to devour it. They have to know about it first. So you'll have to take some steps to do that.
Okay, so you said that according to the New York Times, over 80% of people think that they have a book within them and they want to write a book, but only 1% do. Of that 1%, how many people actually make money off their books?
Very few. The averages are about 250 books are ever sold in the lifetime of an author. And most of those are bought by the author and given away to friends and family. That's the traditional publishing model. But see, Amazon has changed a lot of that. It's given people a platform where there's tons of traffic going, looking for books on particular subjects. So if you can harness the power of Amazon, the power of self-publishing, then you can do far better than traditional publishing.
And little things too, like just your title, publish, promote, and profit. If I'm looking to publish a book, if I wrote the keyword publish into Amazon, your book might come up. So little things like that.
Absolutely.
I've heard stuff about the cover art and all that, eye-catching stuff and different sort of strategies that can be employed as well. Rob, it's been a pleasure having you in.
My pleasure.
Again, the book, Publish, Promote, and Profit, is available on Amazon?
It will be next month.
It will be next month. All right. Thanks so much for coming to see us this morning.
Thanks, Rob.
Appreciate it. All right, Amity, back over to you.